Hi and welcome to episode 27. Today I'm going to talk about the busking guidelines and permit application processes of each major city of Australia. This video is intended as an overview and a comparison of these permits in relation to musicians. This information is correct as of the 12th of November 2017, and I have obtained this information to the best of my ability. Depending on when you're watching this video though, they may have been updated, so please double check. I'm going to try to keep things concise, but I will be putting all the links to each permit in the description box down below. Also, if you're interested in a specific state or territory, I will be putting the time codes down there as well, so you can skip ahead if you want to. Okay, well let's get into it. So I'm going to start out with Adelaide as it's my home city, and where better to start than home. Adelaide's permit lasts for 1 month and is free. You need to apply in person at the Adelaide City Council offices at 25 Pirie Street. They state on their website that you will need a photo ID such as a driver's licence, passport or student ID card, and 2 non-photo IDs such as a credit card or Medicare card, but honestly I have only ever been asked for my driver's licence. There is no audition, CDs are allowed to be sold and there is no extra cost for this. Maximum performance time in one spot is 30 minutes. You will be covered under the Council's public liability insurance and don't require your own. There are no designated spots. Areas not covered in the permit are the Central Market and the Adelaide Railway Station, and busking is not permitted in front of prominent buildings, for example the Town Hall, Parliament House or Government House. Amplified busking is allowed within a reasonable level. You may perform between 10 AM and 10 PM. And moving on, next up let's talk about Melbourne. You can apply for a 3-month or 12-month busking permit. A 3-month permit costs $10 and a 12-month permit costs $20. Melbourne also allows renewal of expired busking permits at a reduced rate of $10 for 12 months. You can apply online or with a paper application which can be posted or submitted in person to the Melbourne City Council offices at 120 Swanston Street. CDs are allowed to be sold, but there is an extra cost of $50 per permit for this. You don't require your own public liability insurance, but it is recommended you have your own as you will not be covered by council in the event that a claim is made against you. There are many areas where busking, or amplified busking specifically, is not permitted. Too many to go into in this video, but they provide a map to show these as well as detailing them in their busking guidelines. You may perform amplified music between 8 AM and 10 PM Sunday to Thursday and between 8 AM and 11 PM Friday and Saturday. Melbourne has 2 types of permits. The first I'm going to talk about is the General Area Permit. You need to book into and attend a safety, amenity and performance review before you can receive your permit. You will need to bring photo ID and, unless otherwise advised, your instrument to provide a display of the intended street performance or video footage of your performance to the review. Maximum performance time in one spot is 2 hours. There are no designated spots, and with this permit you can generally busk anywhere except for the Bourke Street Mall, designated circle act sites and other restricted areas as specified. Amplified busking is allowed as long as the volume level is less than 75 decibels at 3 metres and 69 decibels at 6 metres. You can renew your expired busking permit online or in person without having to attend another safety, amenity and performance review. The second type of permit is for the Bourke Street Mall area. You need to have your general area permit before you can apply for the Bourke Street Mall permit. There is no extra cost for this permit. With it, you can busk in the Bourke Street Mall in a designated position at a pre-booked time. It is only available for professional buskers who busk as their main source of income, have a repertoire that would enable them to perform for at least 30 minutes without repeating a song, and have a website, YouTube, Facebook or other online profile. You also need to have held a general area permit for a minimum of 6 months without incident. Visiting professional acts may apply without waiting the 6-month period, but they need to attend a Bourke Street Mall safety, amenity and performance review. You must audition and will be judged on Level 1 and Level 2 review criteria on page 9 and 10 of the Busking Guidelines 2011. There are designated spots which are allocated to buskers. From what I can see, you are allocated 1 spot per day and can perform as many 30-minute sets as you like as long as you have breaks of at least 30 minutes between sets. Permit holders attend a weekly site allocation meeting held on Wednesday morning in order to be allocated a busking location for the following week. Sites are allocated in the presence of all Bourke Street Mall buskers via a ballot draw system to ensure equity and diversity of performances in the Bourke Street Mall. Amplified busking is allowed as long as the volume level is less than 82 decibels at 3 metres and 76 decibels at 6 metres. Melbourne has a great busking system, and their attention to detail shows they really put in effort when it comes to buskers, but it does mean their permits are a little more in depth. Currently, there is a review of these busking guidelines in the works, so these may change very soon. Some of the proposed changes include lowering the allowed volume levels by 3 decibel, making the application process online only, making the Bourke Street Mall audition process more involved, and increasing the cost of permits. So look out for these updated guidelines at some point in the future. Next we have Sydney. You can apply for a 3-month or 12-month busking permit. A 3-month permit costs $13 and a 12-month permit costs $47. You need to apply in person at the Sydney City Council offices at 456 Kent Street. You will need a proof of identity, a completed application form, and a copy of your public liability insurance. There is no audition. CDs are allowed to be sold, and there is no extra cost for this. For Pitt Street Mall, Broadway Shopping Centre, and Bay Street entrance, there is a maximum performance time of 1 hour. For elsewhere in the city, there is a maximum performance time of 2 hours. You will need your own public liability insurance for at least $10 million cover. There are 3 designated spots in Pitt Street Mall, 2 of which allow musical acts, as well as 26 designated spots elsewhere in the Sydney area, all of which are shown on the support document, Busking Site Maps. Once again, there are many areas where busking is not permitted, but they have them shown on an interactive Google map which you can access online, as well as in the support document, Busking Site Maps, including restricted areas and excluded areas. Amplified busking is allowed as long as the volume level is less than 82 decibel at 3 metres and 76 decibel at 6 metres. For spots located outside of the Pitt Street Mall, you may perform between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday, between 7 a.m. and 12 midnight Friday and Saturday, and between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. Sunday. For Pitt Street Mall spots, you may perform between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday, between 2 p.m. and 12 midnight Friday, between 11 a.m. and 12 midnight Saturday, and between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. Sunday. Some extra rules apply for the Pitt Street Mall spots, such as buskers can only perform 3 times in a 7-day period per pitch. Buskers may not perform 2 days in a row in the same pitch, and buskers should have sufficient repertoire to utilise the maximum performance time of 1 hour without repeating material. Otherwise, the performance time should be shortened to avoid repetition. Should any act generate a sizable audience, the busker is also required to manage the audience to keep the mall thoroughfares and shop entrances clear for pedestrian traffic. Also, buskers may not perform while special events are in progress in the mall. So that's 3 of 8 Australian major cities. Next up is Canberra. Canberra doesn't require a permit, and thus it is free to busk in, and there's no application process or audition. I can't find any information as to whether CDs are allowed to be sold. There is no maximum performance time. Since there's no permit, you won't be covered under the council's public liability insurance. There are no designated spots, but you may require permission from property owners, for example the owners of the Westfield Shopping Centre, to busk on private land. Inquiries about busking on private land should be directed to the property owner. Amplified busking is allowed as long as it is below these volume levels. There are no time restrictions, but you must abide by the applicable noise restrictions at the different times of day. Continuing on, we have Brisbane. To busk in areas other than the Queen Street Mall, Redcliffe Place, the Valley Malls and South Bank, you don't require a permit. From what I can see, there are no conditions to perform outside of these spots. If you wish to busk in Queen Street Mall, Redcliffe Place or the Valley Malls, you must complete an online application as well as writing a letter of support which you attach to your application. The permit is free, and I can't find any information on how long the permit lasts. You will need to audition on one of the council's specified audition dates, which come around approximately every 3 months, and the upcoming audition dates are listed on the council's website. The council will notify you 10 working days after the audition date whether you have been successful or not. I'm unsure as to whether CD sales are allowed for these areas, what their maximum performance times are, whether you need your own public liability insurance, whether there's designated spots, or they're allowed busking times. What I do know is that amplified busking is not allowed. If you wish to busk on the South Bank, there are annual permits that are allocated once per year for the locals, or touring artists can apply for a short-term 3-month permit. The permits are free. You will need to submit an online application. People applying for an annual permit will need to attend an audition in November for the opportunity to busk in the following year. But people applying for a short-term permit will just have to provide a recent video of your performance for assessment. You'll also need to submit a recent photo and a copy of a form of ID with your application online. If approved for a short-term permit, only one will be issued per busker per year. Buskers can sell or display items for sale only if prior written consent is sought from Brisbane Marketing. To seek approval, you will need to email the venue sales executive. I can't find any information on performance time limits other than that buskers are required to allow gaps between performance times to allow other buskers an opportunity to perform in close proximity due to limited busking locations. You don't need public liability insurance, but you won't be covered by the councils. There are designated spots so you will be informed of if your application is successful. Use of amplifiers is restricted to battery-operated amplifiers only and must not exceed 75 decibels at 3 metres from the source. You may perform between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. Next up is Darwin. They issue daily permits that cost $3.50. You have to apply in person at the Darwin City Council on Harry Chan Avenue, Monday to Friday between 8:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. They will only issue daily permits for the day you apply, unless you are applying for a weekend, in which case you will need to apply on the Friday. Spots cannot be reserved ahead of time. There are a limited amount per day, so it's first in, best dressed. You will need photo ID to apply. There is no audition. You are allowed to sell your own original CDs. There is no maximum performance time. Public liability insurance is not required and you will be covered under the council's insurance. Busking is restricted to the Smith Street Mall. There are 4 designated busking spots, of which only the Raintree Park B4 spot allows amplified busking. You may perform between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, and between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Almost there, second to last is Perth. Your first permit lasts for 1 month and costs $24. Subsequent permits can be purchased for any duration at $24 a month. You need to apply in person at the Perth City Council offices at 27 St George's Terrace. You will need to have identification that shows a valid Australian address, so if you're touring from overseas, Perth is probably not the place for you to go busking. There is no audition. CDs are allowed to be sold, but there is an extra $45 fee per month, which is extremely expensive in my opinion. Maximum performance time in one spot is 30 minutes. No public liability insurance is required, but if a claim was made against you, it would likely be your responsibility. There are no designated spots. Busking is allowed anywhere within the CBD except for Kings Park. Amplified busking is allowed as long as it is quieter than 72 decibels and the amplifier must be battery operated. You may perform with an amplifier between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. or at any time without an amplifier. And lastly, we have Hobart. Hobart gives out daily permits and they are free. You need to apply in person at the Customer Service Centre at 16 Elizabeth Street. You will need to show photo ID, and before you begin busking, you must report to the officer in the Elizabeth Mall information booth who will allocate you a position. There is no audition. CD sales are not allowed. You will be allocated a time slot with your position, and the customer service officer I spoke with believed it was a 1-hour time slot. He did say though, if you finished a set, you could go back to the information booth and get allocated another position and time slot. You don't require public liability insurance, but you won't be covered under the councils. There are designated spots. Amplified busking is not allowed. You may perform between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday to Saturday. To finish things off, let's just quickly look at an overall comparison of the permits for what I believe to be the 3 main factors: cost, how long you can perform, and whether amplified busking is allowed. So you can see here that Darwin currently has the most expensive busking permits at $3.50 a day, followed by Perth, Sydney, and Melbourne. It also shows that Adelaide, Canberra, Brisbane, and Hobart chose not to charge their buskers to perform. Canberra, Darwin, and possibly Brisbane have the longest maximum performance times, with the general areas of Melbourne and Sydney coming in second best with 2 hours. Then there's Hobart and Pitt Street Mall with 1 hour, and Adelaide, Bourke Street Mall, and Perth with 30 minutes. Finally, amplified busking is allowed everywhere except Queen Street Mall and Hobart. Okay, and that's it. All 8 Australian major cities' busking policies. I'd like to give a shout out to the buskersguide.com, as I stumbled across their website when I was doing my research, and their website helped fill in the blanks in a few instances. They also have some great information on there about other places that you can busk around each major city that aren't covered under the main city policy. So yeah, definitely jump on there if you're planning a trip and check it out, find out where you can play. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, you can give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, you can subscribe to my channel and click the little bell icon to turn on notifications so that you're notified the next time that I post. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye!